Hey there, welcome to Cumberland Shops. I'm going to make a quick video to introduce the concept of 3D printing and using HO mechanisms to do ON30 locomotives and some rolling stock. Mostly I wanted to show you one of the engines I've got in progress so I can show you how it looks when it's in the process of being prepped and painted, and then I can go ahead and finish it, and we'll show you that later on. So first, let me show you this. This is a raw print that just came in from Sculpteo, and I do recommend for locomotives the white material seems to have better detail than the black, but this is what it looks like with all the parts together. And I did a quick video to show, well, animation to show how the parts detach. And since I rendered it out, I gotta show it because, you know, it actually illustrates how all the parts are enclosed within the print. And this is a work in progress. This is, I think this would be Loco 024, number 24, based on a Bachmann 060 side tank, HO scale model. So I'm going to take it off the base there, set that aside. I am in the process of finishing this because they show up a little bit fuzzy. And so it takes time to prep the model for paint and then to paint it. So over here on this side, I have applied, oh wait, let me show you what I've used. The model comes in, you know, it's just got a bit of a grain to it. Maybe we can see that here on the boiler or here. Okay, you can see a little bit of it there. So I painted it with a layer of, can you see this? Vallejo surface primer with polyurethane. And so that gives it a nice coating of polyurethane and kind of hardens up the material. And then you can tell that I've been sanding down the surface, smoothing it out, and at times, well, this is going to get interesting. I'll use a flat blade and scrape along the surface to smooth things out a bit. And also, where is my sanding stick? There's one. These sanding sticks like this are also very useful for smoothing out the surface, and the trick is to avoid sanding down the rivets. It's always, that's the hard part, to not sand the rivets off. And if you really wanted to go for a lot of detail, it would probably be better quality to sand the rivets completely off and then use their locations as a guide for rivets. Well, the plastic kind that you get. And so you can see on the other side, this side's been painted but not sanded, so it's still got a bit of a grain to it. And then sanding in through the domes and around the boiler, that gets to be kind of interesting. So this one is in progress, and you can also see the roof here is kind of a mess. And then of course there's the mechanism. Then you've got a Bachmann headlight and the 3 different stacks that come with it. And I've used a Bachmann bell on this one, but I've also been working on, this is the test model, a nice ON30 scale bell, very similar to the Bachmann ones, but easier to find. I've run out of bells. And so the end product should look more like, get all that stuff out of the way. That's 01. That's an early model, an early print. I need to put a whistle on that one. I'm also short on whistles, and Weissman Model Services has a bunch of really good whistles. They also have dynamos and air pumps and a lot of good parts in metal, which are just more durable than any of these plastic materials, and especially good for. And they also have bells, and so I really recommend them in terms of detail parts. And so that's number 1. I'll show you sometime how to do the wood grain on the cab. That's kind of a fun technique. But this is a good running locomotive, and I think, no, that's a print. I made it where the stacks would be interchangeable with the Bachmann stacks. And so, let me also show you, I think we've seen this one before. That's, what number is that? 02? 03? Somewhere in there. So this is tender 002. And so you've got a tank locomotive that's been extended into a 262 with a parts kit that we have on the website. And I think, let's see, the number plate is from Bachmann. The bell is an adapted Bachmann model. The whistle came off a Bachmann loco. So there are some Bachmann parts in here. And of course the mechanism itself is the 262. And then the tender is full of real wood and some assorted spare parts. But it makes a neat little engine. And there is more that we're working on. So let me show you. Here's one. And this is a little bit different. This is number 14. And the door's falling off. There we go. And so this one's a little different because it's made to fit on the side tank mechanism, which looks like this. And you can tell it's a bit newer, that it's got DCC and a really small can motor. And these do run better than the old saddle tank mechanisms. But it also means that the bottom of the tank lines up with the bottom of the cab. And so it's just a little bit different profile. And so while let's see, we'll look at these in more detail later. But that's 14. And I think, is that one of, yeah, it's one of our bells. And obviously lacking a few details. So we'll show you more when we've got more to look at. And before we finish, I decided this might be worth looking at. This is another mechanism. This is the Bachmann, the same as we looked at before under that locomotive. This is the side tank 060. And so you can see it sits a bit lower than the other version. Again, this one has the can motor, and I removed the DCC because it was getting a little flaky, so I just hot wired it into the track power, and it runs great. But the thing that bothered me is that American locomotives don't typically have this straight line running straight back, like that. That just looked a bit odd to me. That solid line. Usually the cab steps down a bit, like on this locomotive. So I thought maybe I could fix that there are two small screws that hold this in, hold the bottom of the cab onto the frame. So I removed those two small Phillips head screws. You see right where they fit. There they are. And this entire assembly pops off. And then you've got some space to drop the bottom of the cab down. So that is what, this is anything in the 020 series, 020 through 025. And so, you know what? Kind of hard to do this when you're live on camera. There we go, get the wires in there. And so you have a little bit of a step down that just feels like a little bit more American and gives it a different profile. So let's put a cab on so it looks a little bit more like a train locomotive. And when you add a tender to that, I just think that's cool. And then you can add a front pilot, and I want to eventually show you guys how that works. And it'd be a casting like this one. This is a pilot casting for a project we'll talk about next time. But this extends the front pilot so that there's room for a pilot truck. And I've got a similar one for this type of locomotive. This is designed for something else, I think. I can't keep track anymore. So that could convert this into a 260 or a 262. And let me show you these parts. I'll have to get these painted and fitted in because they need a little bit of adapting. That's a trailing truck and then kind of a bracket to hold it in place. And you could make it into an 062. That'd be really wacky. So next time we'll have something new to show you, which is already pretty much in place, but I really need to get it painted. So that's an intro to the Porters, to the first two sets of locomotives that fit on the saddle tank and the side tank Locos from Bachmann, the HO mechanisms. And we'll see what we have next time.